Joe Mixon is set to get the largest workload of his career. That and much more coming up on today's episode of the Football Guys Mailbag Show. Let's start with this. We've got a question from Winston here. Are you buying into the reports that this will be the largest workload of Joe Mixon's career? Troy, let's start off with you. What are you thinking about this story?
I think it's code speak to me. I believe that Joe Mixon is going to have a good year this year, and I'm trying not to fall into the trap of we always fall for this Joe Mixon hype, and whether he underperforms or he gets injured, whatever the case may be, it always seems to happen. But I truly believe that they are set up for success. The O-line is definitely a issue, so I'm not going to discount that. But with Joe Burrow expected to be healthy, you're adding just another weapon in the offense with Chase, which will hopefully open up Joe Mixon, to, again, get his. You can't stack the box with, Joe Burrow with the receivers. So I believe that. And also, Giovanni Bernard isn't in town anymore. And so we're hoping that the receptions are there. I know they haven't been there in the past. So I'm very optimistic about him this season.
So I want to hit on that real quickly for a second. You said that you can't stack the box with Joe Mixon. Against this Bengals team. And this blew my mind because I assumed that people would be stacking the box against Joe Mixon. And I'm doing an article on him right now. So I did a deep dive the other day of every single running back in the NFL. They call it a light load box. So 6 or fewer defenders in the box. Joe Mixon saw the 7th highest rate of a light box of any running back in the league. So he's going to have that ability to run. But Victoria, let me throw the same question to you. Are you buying into this report that this is going to be a career workload for Joe Mixon?
I'm with Troy. I understand this is coach speak. I actually looked into some of his best performances. So we're saying he's going to have the largest workload of his career. Well, in 2019, he had the most amount of carries with 278. He had 1,100 yards. It was only 4.1 per carry. His highest target share came in 2018 with 55 targets. He had about 300 yards. He had 9 touchdowns in 2018. So I did some math and I thought, okay, if I combine his 2 best rushing and receiving performances, he would have had about 252 fantasy points, which was good enough for the PPR running back 7 last year. So let's say that's his absolute ceiling is running back 7, right? He could do better this year, but he seems fairly priced to me at his current ADP. So Football Guys overall, our rankings have him at running back 11. Fantasy Pros ECR is running back 11. I think that's fair. I'm just not – this news didn't make me move on him is what I'm trying to say. So.
Yeah, I'm excited to release this article that I wrote. It's a long one, about 1,400 words, but I did a deep dive. And basically the conclusion I came to is that there are 2 running backs in the NFL that have a realistic shot of finishing top 5 in carries and top 5 in receptions. And that is Dalvin Cook and Joe Mixon. And, if you want to get emotional and talk about his injury history, all that, I get it. People have been burned in the past, but Joe Mixon, he's going to see a hefty serving of opportunity this year. So do not sleep on that, man. But anyway, I want to thank you guys for tuning into another episode of the Football Guys Mailbag Show. The last few weeks have been crazy. It's the off season. I was traveling. We had Victoria fill in, and the reviews that we got with Victoria and Troy were so great that we are bringing Victoria on now. She's going to be a weekly member. So if you don't already know Victoria, be sure to follow her on Twitter, ff_Victoria. She'll be here every single week. Want to remind you that we stream this on Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern time. We're going to start off with all of these submitted questions that came through on Twitter and to mailbag@footballguys.com. And then once we wrap up with all that, we spend the last 15-20 minutes going through the chat and answering all those hot questions live. Anyway, we've got a lot of great questions lined up for today, so let's dive right into the next one. We're going to have to figure out the formatting a little bit on this show because when I pull these questions up, it screws up the overlay just a tad, but let me pull it up for a quick second. We got a question here from Daniel. Who are the 2 best keepers? He's got DeAndre Swift in the 4th, TJ Hawkinson in the 10th, and Mark Andrews in the 12th. Who are you taking here? Victoria, let's start with you.
I like this question. I think that I would go Hawk and Swift personally, and that is because Swift they're going to be the 2 guys on the team that are getting the most targets on that offense. The wide receiver room is putrid. It is garbage. We don't know who's going to get those targets, but we know Swift and Hawk are going to be involved. Now, I understand Andrews will be involved on Baltimore as well, but they added all the new shiny pieces with Sammy Watkins, Rashad Bateman. They're going to try to get Dobbins more involved in the passing game. So I would go Swift and Hawk here.
What are you thinking, Troy?
I actually agree with Victoria. So, for me, obviously, in the 4th round for Swift, it's kind of pricey, but at the same time, I believe Swift is worth it in a keeper league. You don't get a lot of, workhorse running backs, and, he's still going to be in a committee, I guess, with Jamal Williams or whoever he's going to be with in the future. But I believe that he's worth that price. I think he's one of the, top tier running backs in the league. So I think that I would keep him for a 4th. And Hawkinson, I believe that Hawkinson is going to be slowly moving into that, that elite tight end group, right? And it might be after this season. Travis Kelce, he's a little bit older, right? And George Kittle's going to be a stud, but that offense has so many different weapons, and he's going to get his. But I think Hawkinson has the ability to, maybe creep up in that elite group. I'm not going to mention Pitts because everybody knows Pitts. I ain't going to talk about that Hall of Famer. But yeah, so I think that, Swift and Hawkinson, I'm going to go with them too.
Well, Daniel, you got the Football Guys mailbag show stamp of approval because we're going 3 for 3 here. I'm saying the same thing. I am arguably like the biggest DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson hater out there, and still looking at these options. I feel like those are the 2 guys that you've got to keep. My kind of thought process here is that between DeAndre Swift and TJ Hawkinson, they both have sky high ceilings and they both have very dangerous floors. So I think that one of these guys is going to end up hitting. I don't know if it's going to be Swift. I don't know if it's going to be Hawkinson, but given the ADP that you can give up to keep these guys, I think those are the 2 guys you got to keep. And one of them is going to end up hitting for you this year. All right, on to the next question. And we've got this one coming from Chris. He sent this one in through email, and Nick Chubb, Brandon Ayuk, and a 2023 first-round pick for A.J. Brown, Paris Campbell, and Javonte Williams. We've got a dynasty trade here, and between these 2 sides, who do you think wins? Troy, let's start with you on this one. This is a big trade, monster trade. Who would you side with here?
This is a monster trade. This was really tough for me, but I'm going to go with the A.J. Brown side. So I'm going to go with A.J. Brown side for a couple different reasons. So for me, the 2023 first, I have no idea where that's going to land. I don't know if it's going to be early. I don't know if it's going to be late. So for that reason, that's one of the things I discounted. Paris Campbell, I think that, obviously he's kind of like the odd man out in terms of value for this particular trade. But I think that, he suffered injuries, right? But when we've seen him slightly on the field, he showed potential that he might be, a value in drafts, especially, with this new look Colts offense. Javonte Williams, he should have the backfield to himself by the end of this year going forward. So he could be a possible RB1, in the future. A.J. Brown, I don't got to say too many things about A.J. Brown. We know that he could possibly be the dynasty wide receiver 1. So that's also one of the big reasons why I went that side. Look, Nick Chubb's my guy. Brandon Ayuk, you can have arguments for them. But to me, again, A.J. Brown could be the dynasty wide receiver 1, so it just leans heavily for me in that direction.
Victoria, who are you taking here? Somebody proposes this trade to you. Are you taking it if you're one of these sides?
I am kind of shocked that Troy didn't take the Nick Chubb side. You love Nick Chubb.
I do love Nick Chubb. It was tough for me. It hurt my soul, but I had to be fair.
I hear you. I want a side note here and to say, like, the goal of trade shouldn't be to fleece someone or win your trade. I know the question was framed as who won the trade here. You want to just make your team better by doing this trade, right? And I know that's like not fun or smack talky, but it is what it is. In this case, we can't really see the full team, so analysis is obviously limited to these players here. That being said, this trade is fairly equal in value for me. You have 2 proven players on the Chubb and Ayuk side. Again, the 2023 first. Maybe if it was the 2022 first, that would really sweeten it up there, but it's not. Chubb is still fairly young. He's 25. Ayuk's on the rise and is young. Though you get a full bona fide stud wide receiver in A.J. Brown in the other trade. And a very promising young back in Williams. I think he has the potential to take over that backfield in week 1. There are just rumblings that people are saying Melvin Gordon might be out before the season begins, which is wild to me. But I believe it. He's old for a running back. He's 28. So I don't want to agree with Troy again, but I am. I will take the A.J. Brown side.
All right, viewers, you need to start giving us some harder questions because this is 2 questions in a row. I mean, obviously, anybody that knows me knows that I am just a huge AJ Brown fan, so I'm gonna lean in that direction as well. And then Javonte Williams, you called it. I mean, this kid has the opportunity to really see a pretty hefty workload as a rookie. I think that he's a great pick, and even if he doesn't get the job this year, Melvin Gordon's contract in Denver is up next year. So, like, at the worst, we're going to see Javonte Williams with, a pretty hefty role as early as next year while you're still waiting on that 2023 pick. So, yeah, give me A.J. Brown, Paris Campbell, Javonte Williams, and give us some tougher questions while you're at it, too. Come on, guys. All right, let's switch to the next one. We got Taco here, which I love this name. It just makes me laugh every time it pops up. He has 2 questions. We're going to start with the first one. Will Justin Jefferson be able to recreate his rookie season? Can he do even better? What can hold him back? We got a lot of questions here, but Victoria, let's start with you. What are you thinking about as far as Justin Jefferson for his year 2 sophomore campaign?
Yes, he can do better. To think that it will be silly to think that this man's rookie season in a year with COVID striking, no continuity, no training camps, all that thing, learning all the new NFL tricks and trades, that he would peak in his rookie season. This dude is a star. He will do better. He may recreate his rookie season, but the things that could hold him back are Kirk Cousins. Kirk Cousins had his most efficient year ever in 2020. He had his highest total touchdowns with 35. His touchdown rate was 6.8%, which is high for Kirk. Will he fall back to earth? I'm not sure. They're a run-first team. Adam Thielen's still kicking. He had a ton of touchdowns last year, 14 or something like that. But of course, I still think Jefferson can improve on his rookie season. Absolutely.
Troy, what are you thinking here?
So he finished as a at the end of the season, finished a wide receiver 6. I think he was about 9 in points per game. So could he be better than that? Yeah, he could be better than that. I don't know how much better, if that's already really good. But what's going to hold him back is kind of what Victoria was already alluding to. It's the Kirk Cousins. I think Kirk Cousins is very efficient, right? And after this season, they might transition to Kellen Mond. I mean, they drafted him for a reason. We know Kirk Cousins' contract. So we'll see. I think that Justin Jefferson is going to be a locked in like wide receiver, like 5. I think top 5 wide receiver in Dynasty. So I think he could do better. The run first mentality is probably the only thing that's holding him back, or maybe QB play. But I think, again, last year, Kirk Cousins was very efficient. I believe that even with Kellen Mond, let's say he's going to be the quarterback of the future. He knows he's going to be targeting Justin Jefferson. I mean, Adam Thielen just, has, complimenting him on the other side. So I think just, wheels up for Justin Jefferson. It's hard to say anything negative or like, oh, no, he can't recreate, last season, his rookie year. So I'm confident in him.
Yeah, I mean, the man set the bar high with 1,400 yards. I mean, set the bar as high as you possibly can for any rookie. But what's kind of crazy when you look at it, only 3 guys had more receiving yards than Justin Jefferson did last year. That was DeAndre Hopkins, Travis Kelce, Stephon Diggs. Stephon Diggs had 127 catches. Travis Kelce had 105. DeAndre Hopkins at 115. Justin Jefferson did this on 88 catches. So we know he's an efficiency monster. And then the other thing that's crazy is, he also only had 7 touchdowns. You say only 7 touchdowns. 7 touchdowns is a very respectable number. But then you see Adam Thielen, who caught 14 touchdowns. So if he can maintain that sort of explosive big play ability, and maintain the yardage while also picking up some extra touchdowns, sky's the limit. And this guy should be in the conversation as the wide receiver 1. So I think that he can recreate and improve from his rookie season. Great question, Taco. All right, Jordan, I assume this one is from Jordan Vanek. And finally, we've got something that will hopefully divide the crew just a little bit here. What is the best stack in best ball? Let me just, before I ask this question, obviously anyone that's been watching this show knows that I'm a Bears fan, knows that Troy is a Dolphins fan, and then we've got Victoria here, who is a very, very hardcore member of the Bills Mafia. So this question right here, the best stack in best ball: Josh Allen, Cole Beasley, and Gabe Davis, Tua Tagovailoa, Will Fuller, or Jalen Waddle, or Justin Fields, Allen Robinson, and Darnell Mooney. First of all, Jordan, thank you for leveling the playing field by taking Stephon Diggs out of the equation so we could actually have a question worth talking about here. But Victoria, start us off. Which is realistically the best stack in this grouping?
I don't want to be a homer, but it's hard not to. Josh Allen, Cole Beasley, they're proven. They're pretty safe in this equation. They have a pretty great strength of schedule this season. They're sitting at 10th overall at the easiest strength of schedule. Beasley had a career year with Josh last year. He had just under 1,000 yards total, number one overall amount of yards for a slot receiver in the whole league. And Gabe Davis is an up-and-coming starter, though I saw the Emmanuel Sanders reports today that to expect Sanders to be that wide receiver 3 on the team and not Gabe. I don't know how much I believe that, but we'll talk about that another time. Tua, Fuller, Waddle, man, I've said this already to Troy. I'm excited to see the Dolphins this season, and with those two on the outside, that speed is going to be great. Tua is the question mark in that for me. I don't know if he's going to be able to push the ball downfield. I don't know how consistent he'll be for fantasy. So I really would be between Josh Allen, that stack, and the Fields, Robinson, Mooney stack. I love that too. I worry about Fields not starting from week 1. Let's say he does get the start in week 1. This would make things a lot tougher. I think I still would go with Josh, Cole, and Gabe, though.
Hey, I respect it. Troy, are you taking the homer stance here, or who do you got?
I'm actually not. I'm not going to be a homer. So I disagree with Victoria. I think my order would go, if I had to pick one, it's the Field stack. Then it's the Tua stack. Then it's the Allen stack. So the reason, So I'm going to break it down, right? So the Field stack, right? And then my only hesitation is that he doesn't start week 1. But I think by like week 3, he will start, right? So for me, Justin Fields, if he gets the start, and I've said this on this show before, he has that mobility. I think he should have been the second QB off the board in this last draft, right? He's just that talented, and not just with his arm, but with his mobility, right? Robinson, I don't have to tell y'all how good Allen Robinson is, and Mooney. Darnell Mooney, like he showed us a little bit flashes last year with very poor QB play. So who else is really going to be challenging him for that wide receiver 2 spot? As of right now, it's his. So so for me, it's slightly ahead of Tua, Fuller, and Waddle. And obviously Robinson's going the earliest out of all of these, so that's another reason why I'm like, the ADP is a little high, but it's warranted for Robinson. He's just that good. So that's why I'm going there. Tua, Fuller, and Waddle. I believe that, obviously all of them are going very late. I just don't know exactly how the targets are going to really be distributed, right? At least for the Bears side, I know that 100% Allen Robinson is going to be that wide receiver 1, and most likely Mooney's going to be the wide receiver 2. For the Fuller Waddle stack, look, Devontae Parker isn't dead, right? He could be in the mix. Like I believe he's going to be the possession receiver. So that's going to be somebody that I think that Tua is going to rely on as well. So, and I think that Fuller, again, he's going to get his targets, but I don't think he's going to be heavily targeted. Obviously, the Dolphins have made it a priority to open up the offense, taking shots downfield, but I think that's where they're going to use Fuller, right? And then obviously that's really good for best ball, but it still worries me. I don't know. Again, I don't know what the connection is going to be. Waddle, he's going to be more of a yak monster. So I wanted to go to it, but I believe that Fields, if he gets that start, man, I think that Bears offense is going to be scary.
Yeah, I got to agree with Troy on this one. And like I said, Jordan, the way that he phrased this question, he handicapped the Bills by taking out Stephon Diggs. So, I mean, if we're talking the real stacks here, it's a completely different story. But, Gabriel Davis, he's not somebody that I get that excited about. It's just, Fields, he's going to have the rushing upside similar to Josh Allen, not anywhere near his level, but he'll still have that rushing upside. And then Robinson and Mooney, that's the 1 and 2. I mean, those two guys are probably going to account for 60% of the passing yards and touchdowns that happen in that offense. So I would lean towards Justin Fields here too. Something else I'd like to say is that I don't think that Fields is going to be starting late in the season. I think that we're going to see Fields take the field either week 2 at home against the Bengals or week 4 at home against the Lions. They've got some tough matchups in between there. Week 1 on the road, prime time against the Los Angeles Rams. I don't want that to be his first start. That would be very tough for a rookie to walk into. And then week 3 is on the road against the Browns. So I think that we're going to see Justin Fields start at least 13 games this season, possibly start 16 games. So people that are fading him because they don't know when he's going to be the starter, I'd pump the brakes a little bit and draft him confidently, because I think that we're going to see him start just a bit this season. Victoria, I know you got to chime in. What's up?
Before you move on to the next one, it was very, very close for me, but I think it was JJ Zacharyson who just did an article or a pod about rookie quarterbacks supporting two relevant fantasy wide receivers, and that it just doesn't really happen. So
it never happens.
That kind of pushed me toward the Josh stack. I just wanted to put that out there.
I get it. And I think what happened, I think Allen Robinson, I mean, I could go out there and as quarterback for the Bears, and somehow Allen Robinson would still finish as a wide receiver 1. That's all he's done with Blake Bortles and Chase Daniel and Mitch Trubisky and Mike Glenn. Like, it doesn't matter who his quarterback is. He's going to be a wide receiver 1. So I think that you've got that with him. Mooney, I mean, I think with the stack, Mooney doesn't need to be anything better than, a wide receiver 3. He just needs to put up, 10 points a week for this stack to kind of work out for you. I love me some Darnell Mooney, though. I feel like 2 or 3 months ago, he was the sleeper that I was banging the drum on, and now the secret's kind of out, and everybody's getting all hyped up about Darnell Mooney. But excited to see what this Bears team can do. Before we move on to the next question, I just want to remind, we're already seeing some good questions coming through in the chat. We will get to those a little bit later, so please keep dropping your questions in the chat, and we will get to those at the end of the show. All right, moving on. We got a question from Twitter here from Josh_FF. How do you value production versus future value in players? Are you willing to invest in a player whose value is only going down year to year if you think they'll produce in the current year? So this is kind of a, more of a game theory question. And if you guys want to come up with some examples of like specific players that you target in these situations, go for it. Who wants to take this one first? Show of hands, whoever.
I got it.
Get it, Troy. Let's go.
So here's the thing, though. It really depends on, I'm assuming we're talking about Dynasty, right? So it really depends on if your team's a contender or if it's rebuild. This is a very, very important. So if I'm a contender, I'm going to invest in those guys that are going to help me. It really depends. I think it's more so how much are you going to invest? How heavily are you going to invest? Knowing that the shelf life is going to be, very minimal. So, for example, Adam Thielen. Adam Thielen is a guy who, like, I'm trying to definitely invest in if I'm a contender, right? I think a lot of people are fading him because of his age, but I think he still has at least 2 years of solid production. But in Dynasty, in terms of his, I guess, perception, people are more down on him. But he's somebody who's going to be relevant, who's going to produce, that you can get at a reasonable price, I believe. So he's somebody that his value isn't going to go up, right? He's going to help you this year, but his value isn't going to increase, right? We've honestly been seeing a decrease no matter how productive he is. People just don't want Adam Thielen in Dynasty. So for me, he's a great example of somebody that I want today, as well as just older running backs. Older running backs fit this perfectly, right? Because nobody wants an aging running back, but if you're a contender, those are the type of players that you want on your team. You don't want to invest too heavily on them because once they fall off a cliff, they'll have zero value. But if you have a couple of vets that can help you, win a chip, those are also guys that you want to target. So that's the way I interpret this question.
Good answer, Troy. Victoria, what do you got to add on this one?
I'll just piggyback off of Troy. I agree that you got to make sure that you understand if you're a contender or you're not. A couple players I thought of for this example were guys like Derrick Henry, which Troy's already hit on, an aging running back. He's 27, and everyone's like, his cliff is coming. He had 70,000 career carries already, and he's going to break down this year. Like, why shy away from the monster that is Derrick Henry, right? Like, he's still has a good few years left in him. I also thought of somebody like Jalen Hurts, for example. He's pretty polarizing for this year, especially Dynasty. Are you thinking if he doesn't perform this year, are they going to go? They have a ton of first-round picks next year. They got a lot of draft capital. They're going to move away from him. So you're taking a really big shot if you want to invest in a guy like Jalen Hurts, who's probably better off giving you better value in redraft versus Dynasty. But if you want to take your shot, you take your shot. If you're not a contender, take a shot on Jalen Hurts then.
And I think this is, there's so many different ways to play Dynasty. And I've talked to some people that use the economics principles when they're playing Dynasty, and they're not going to buy anybody that's trending downward. There's some people out there that will trade away Julio Jones for a third and trade away Derrick Henry for a future second. And they're trying to capitalize on as much just value as they possibly can. And I get doing that. I mean, there's a case to be made for it. But I feel like then you're just struggling to win championships. And at the end of the day, when you're playing fantasy football, you want to win. And I'm not going to give up Julio Jones for a 3rd round pick because it's going to help my team in the future. When Julio Jones, we don't know if he's got 1 year left in him. We don't know if he's got any years left in him. I mean, let's be honest. He can go out and his legs can just be dead this year, and that could be the end of Julio Jones. He could also be the LeBron James of football and just defy the laws of nature that we know and play until he's in his late 30s and just keep balling out as a wide receiver 1. We don't know.
Tom Brady? You mean?
Yeah, Tom Brady. Exactly. The same exact thing. Like, people have been talking about the demise of Tom Brady for so long. Imagine if you traded away Tom Brady in 2013 because you said, hey, his cliff is coming, and you're missing out on a guy who's going to be putting up QB1 numbers now, 8 years later. So yeah, sometimes I feel like people outsmart themselves a little bit when playing when playing Dynasty. And at the end of the day, we're trying to win. And players like Derrick Henry, players like Julio Jones, I think that their value is more on a team than it is on the trade market. So sometimes when you've got a guy like that, or like Adam Thielen, like you called out, sometimes it's better just to keep him on your team and just ride him till the wheels fall off, because realistically, the chances of you hitting on that late 2nd, 3rd round pick, whatever it is, are pretty slim. So just take what you got and ride it to the end. Good question, though. I like that. These game theory questions are fun because everybody really plays the game very differently. All right, we got a question from Footballguys' own Chris Allen. For your evaluation of Michael Thomas this season, do you care if it is Jameis Winston or Taysom Hill under center? Victoria, why don't you start us off?
No, I do not care who it is. I would prefer if it was Winston, because everyone has way more fun when Jameis Winston is playing quarterback in fantasy football. But I tweeted this recently. Michael Thomas's worst overall finish ever was the PPR wide receiver 7. That was his rookie season before his injury in 2020, of course. He's one of the most consistent wide receivers in the NFL. Yes, slant boy, call him whatever you want. I don't care. You call him slant boy, I'll draft him then. You don't want to draft him. But he is one of the most consistent PPR guys in the league. I don't care what quarterback is under center. If they stick with Taysom, he's going to have to figure it out. I just don't think with a full off season to learn the playbook, to be intertwined with Sean Payton, et cetera, that they're going to give the job to Taysom again. I could be totally wrong, but again, I don't care. His value right now too is just blows my mind. He's going way too low.
So we've got Victoria just saying that Michael Thomas is basically Allen Robinson. Doesn't matter who's throwing the ball to him, he's going to produce. Troy, what do you think? Are you bumping him up or down in your rankings depending on who the quarterback is for the Saints this year?
So for me, not drastically, right? I prefer Winston slightly, but at the end of the day, we know that Michael Thomas is going to be the wide receiver 1 for the Saints, and he's going to be targeted heavily, right? So right now, according to Footballguys, he's currently ranked at wide receiver 9 overall, it looks like. So for me, I think that's, fair. And I think in most places, he's going at a value, especially I think in Dynasty and redraft, like his value compared to like last year and the year before is significantly like decreased, right? He was going as like the, wide receiver 1, wide receiver 2. Now he's all the way in again, wide receiver 9, 10, 11 range. So to me, I think if you're going to, make a difference in terms of valuation, is by a few points. But I think, again, if you're not sending offers for Michael Thomas right now, then he's the perfect guy that you should be trying to acquire. Hopefully not too many people in my leagues are watching it, because I'm about to do that soon. But yeah, I think it doesn't matter too much in terms of who's the quarterback, to be honest.
So I'll take a slightly different approach here. I think that a lot of Michael Thomas's value was really inflated by the fact that Drew Brees didn't have that arm and the ability to push the ball down the field. Similar to what we're seeing right now in Pittsburgh with Ben Roethlisberger. He doesn't want to push the ball down the field to Chase Claypool. He just wants to dump it off to Deontay Johnson because that's what his arm can handle. And I feel like a lot of that happened with Michael Thomas running his routes across the middle of the field and underneath and catching those slants over the last few years. So I think that he would have a very just different route tree that he'd have to develop if Jameis Winston is there. We know that Jameis Winston is a gunslinger. That being said, I think that Michael Thomas could step up to the plate. So I think that if Jameis Winston is the center, we could actually see Michael Thomas see a dip in his opportunity and an increase in his efficiency by running more routes down the field, because he's got the size, he's got the speed, he's one of the strongest guys out there when it comes to fighting the ball away from a defender. So I think that the sky's the limit if Jameis Winston is there. Taysom Hill, though, actually worries me a little bit because he's going to be running the ball near the goal line. He's not going to be throwing the ball as much. So I think that if Taysom Hill is the quarterback, I think that bumps Michael Thomas down just a notch. That being said, I want to agree with what Victoria said. I would be shocked if Jameis Winston isn't the starter this year. Like, for them to bring him back after he rode pine for the entire season, for them to bring him back when he could have gone to Washington, he could have gone to Denver, he had all these options. I think that part of him returning to the Saints was them saying, like, you are absolutely guaranteed the job this year. Frankly, it would break my heart if we have to watch Jameis Winston sit on the bench for a full year again. I mean, this guy, he threw some picks when he was in Tampa, but he was fun, and he deserves a starting job in the NFL.
Just a couple picks.
A record-setting.
Hey.
Yeah, Michael Thomas will. I agree with you, Dave Hill. If Taysom's at center, his touchdowns were not there when Taysom was quarterbacking, but he was averaging 9 targets and about 85 yards a game with him, but not the touchdown. So I agree with you. I'd be worried in the touchdown department, but that was a small sample size, so I'm not shying away.
I think he's going to see 150 targets regardless of who it is there. Mm-hmm. All right. We got Daddy Mike every single week with the questions. When the Patriots win the AFC East this year, should I make one video to troll both Troy and Victoria, or should I make it separate ones for each of them? I'll let you guys handle this. Me and my Bears fandom, I've got nothing to do here. Go ahead, Troy.
Look, Mike, I think he's in denial, right? Look, the Patriots are not winning the division, right? Again, I think y'all fighting for third place, and honestly, the Jets are going to give you some competition. Let's be honest. Right? Look, Zach Wilson, all the reports out of camp is that Zach Wilson's been balling out. He's doing his thing. So the Patriots, again, I think they're going to be much improved because, most of their defense opted out last year. So a lot of them are returning. So your defense is going to be improved. Your offense, again, y'all got 2 really good tight ends. Your wide receivers are above average, but you'll have a wide receiver 1, let's be honest. Nelson Aguilar, Jacoby Myers, come on, man. Nobody's worried about them. And again, it's going to be a run first. Cam Newton, whether it's Cam Newton, Mac Jones, I don't care, man. Y'all not winning the division. And look, the Bills are going to win it. Dolphins are going to be a wild card team in the playoffs. That's my prediction.
Couldn't have said it better. Although as much as I want to say next question, because this question is irrelevant. If the Patriots win the division, Mike, I will donate $50 to the charity of your choice, and it better not be Subway the sandwich shop, because you love sandwiches so much. But regardless.
Oh, I hope he writes that down. That's a good bet. I'll do the same. I'll make the same thing. The Patriots win the division. I'll donate $50 to Mike's favorite charity too.
Let's
All right.
go.
You heard it here. All right. The gloves are off and the AFC East fight is going down. All right. Let's get back to some fantasy football talk here. We got Nate Williams over at True North asking us, what are you doing with Kenyon Drake and Josh Jacobs in redraft leagues? Who wants to start with this one?
I'll take it.
Let's hear it, Victoria.
Josh Jacobs, Drake and Josh, these guys. Josh Jacobs being left for dead right now. He is a massive value. That being said, I will take him if he's going to fall to me. That being said, there are a few things that terrify me for the Raiders. They dismantled their entire offensive line. Why? Nobody knows. They're just having a good old time over there. He was taken off the field when the Raiders were losing. I don't know if you guys had him last year in any of your leagues, but I remember watching the games and screaming at the television, like, why is he going off the field on third down? He's not a pass catching running back to the value of like a Christian McCaffrey. He's not going to stay on the field that entire time while they're down. That being said, he did have some injuries he was getting through last season, but that worries me. And then their schedule. Their schedule is scary. Of course, they play the Chargers twice in Kansas City, but they also play the Ravens, Steelers, Dolphins, Washington, the Browns. Those are tough matchups. So I am a little scared if I'm definitely not taking him as my running back 1. I'd be willing to invest in him at that running back 2 or flex, but I'm definitely scared off of him. And Kenyon Drake, I just don't think he's going to be valuable enough to be even a flex value from week to week. He's just going to be sitting on your bench and probably give you a headache of, should I start him this week or not? So,
Troy, what do you got on this one?
I'm trying to avoid taking Josh Jacobs if I can for a couple of reasons, like things that Victoria said. Also, their offensive line is worse, right? They got rid of a lot of their offensive line. And Josh Jacobs, again, he struggled to get receptions prior to Kenyon Drake. But I believe that Kenyon Drake is going to not only eat into the receptions, he's also going to eat into the rushing attempts, right? He was a very capable back with the Dolphins, with the Cardinals. Like, we've seen Kenyon Drake, especially last year, like, he showed that he could be an effective back. He's better than like a Jalen Richard, right? So, and don't be wrong, Josh Jacobs is going to be the RB1 in that committee. But at the same time, I think his upside is capped, right? I think Drake is going to be one of those annoying running backs that's going to, vulture touchdowns. Like, he's good. He's really fits that mold of that guy who's going to be annoying. Now, for Drake, I like him in something like, best ball, or if, people who are going, if you like, zero RB, people are like zero RB, maybe you would target someone like Drake late in drafts, right? So, but besides that, I think Josh Jacobs is fine. I think he's a value in something like Dynasty. Like, I'm more interested in him there, but for redraft, I'd rather take a receiver where he's going in redraft. So
what has Kenyon Drake ever done in the NFL outside of like an 8-game stretch in Arizona? Like, what has he ever done? Why are we worried about Kenyon Drake?
He was good with the Dolphins, man. He was good with the Dolphins.
Take off those turquoise-colored glasses. Get out of here. No, realistically, I'm not worried about Kenyon Drake. Josh Jacobs, over his first 2 seasons, has seen 242 carries, 273 carries. He's seen the 3rd most carries per game of anybody in the NFL. He's never been a receiver. So they bring in a receiving specialist, which they already had in Jalen Richard. Why are we worried about this? The Josh Jacobs hate has gone too far. This man is dropping into the late 3rd, early 4th round of drafts right now, and he's still probably a lock to see 220, 230 touches at a minimum. So I'm still all in on Josh Jacobs. I wasn't a fan of Josh Jacobs the last couple of years because he commanded a 1st round ADP or a 1st round draft pick, but now getting drafted in the 3rd round for a guy that's going to see this many touchdowns, it blows my mind, the amount of hate that he's getting. I'm not worried about Kenyon Drake at all. Kenyon Drake couldn't even hold off Chase Edmonds from getting his touches last year. Josh Jacobs is going to be just fine. All right, we've got Jorge Martin asking us, Ola, is there a running back that you are targeting outside of the top 10? Which, that's a loaded question. I mean, there's a lot of running backs outside the top 10, but who's the guy that you just like cannot leave a draft without after that first 10? Troy, let's start with you.
I believe that he falls into this category, right? So, actually, you know what, man? That is second guessing, right? So I believe that Chris Carson I believe he's going right out. He's right outside the top 10, right? Yeah.
Oh, he's
past the top 10.
He's like 15 to 18 off the board.
It's ridiculous.
Yeah, exactly.
Go ahead. I'm not going to steal your thunder. Go ahead.
I know exactly, and I know that's Dave's boy. So I was going to let him. I was going to go with somebody else, but I'm like, I've been getting a lot of Chris Carson, right? And it's like, for some reason, people just, again, they undervalue him, right? And then people are just always just fading him, whether it's because I think people still fade him because of his draft capital, right? Like, he was. Which is ridiculous at this point, right? People are always claiming, Rashad Penny's going to take the job. That never happened. Yeah, blame the injuries, whatever. But the Seahawks love Chris Carson. We also believe that the Seahawks were going to bring him back. Now he's back. We know that they want to run the ball. And exactly. So here's the thing. Chris Carson, I think we don't have a lot of workhorse running backs in the league. Chris Carson's one of the closest ones we have in this league. As long as he can stay healthy, we know that on the goal line, they go to Chris Carson. We know that he has rushing volume. And, his targets aren't always there, but, they use them. They're ticking up just a bit. But you're not going to rely on Chris Carson for that. It's the volume. Chris Carson's the guy I'm going to go with.
All right, Victoria. Thank you, by the way, Troy. I mean, just said everything I wanted to say, but Victoria.
I was thinking the same thing. I was going to say Carson, but I was like, I'll say Carson, but I'm going to give it to Dave to let him do his spiel on his guy. Wow, Troy, really. Wow, you must hate Dave.
I thought we were friends.
Sorry, man. It was just too easy.
Yeah, my guy is Myles Gaskin. No, I'm kidding. Victoria, go ahead.
I had Carson on my list. I had Javonte Williams, who we already talked about, who I think could go late and have a massive opportunity pretty early on in the season. Of course, I have listed here Antonio Gibson, Gibby, my dude. He had 11 touchdowns in 14 games. He was just a monster last year. Everything coming out of camp is great except for that little toe nagging injury, but we'll hope that doesn't affect him this season. But they're talking about increasing his targets. J.D. McKissick is, I think I tweeted the other day, J.D. McKiss this, because that's going to be Gibson waving. And when he gets 75 plus targets this season, I'm all in on Gibson.
Yeah, I love Antonio Gibson. Love Chris Carson. Even Joe Mixon right now is technically ranked as the RB11. So Joe Mixon, another guy that I'm all in on. Clyde Edwards-Helaire at RB16 is a guy that I am trying to get in every one of my drafts. But I'm going to go real deep on this one. I'm going to go like outside the top 30 here. A.J. Dillon is a guy that I'm trying to snag in every single draft.
Okay.
I think A.J. Dillon is the handcuff of all handcuffs. I don't think there's a more valuable handcuff out there. I think that he is going to be good enough to have standalone flex value every single week because he's going to be the goal line back. He's going to be the short down or short yardage back. I think that he's still going to be in the mix, seeing, 10 to 12 carries a game, and he's going to have that touchdown upside. But really the biggest reason that I'm going out and getting A.J. Dillon right now is because of the lack of depth behind him on the Green Bay depth chart. If Aaron Jones gets hurt, A.J. Dillon is a top 5 fantasy option. So A.J. Dillon is a guy that I'm going to go deep, but he's a guy that I'm trying to get in every single draft that I'm doing. Troy, what you got to add to this?
Since you teased it, right? Myles Gaskin is not getting enough credit, bro. No, but let's be honest, right? Like again, no one expected him to do what he did last year, right? And then this year, everybody, including myself as a Dolphins fan, everybody expected him to bring in a running back. Everybody expected them to draft a running back. They didn't do that. The Dolphins said, we're all in on Myles Gaskin being our RB1. And we saw he's not going to get the same volume that he got last year because obviously he got injured. They brought like Malcolm Brown in. He's going to be the short yardage back. Dokes, they drafted late. He ain't going to be a thing, guys. Salvin Ahmed maybe gets worked in. But Myles Gaskin, he has the ability to finish. I think he could probably finish as a high-end RB2. That's somebody, again, for some reason, nobody wants him. I don't know what it is about Myles Gaskin. I don't know if it's the Dolphins offense. I don't know if people think that maybe they're going to be more pass-heavy. But Myles Gaskin is somebody that you should be targeting in your drafts. That's all I'm saying.
The disrespect to Malcolm Brown. All right. we got a question from Abe here, and this is one that we've probably thought about a little bit. All three of us are in the Scott Fish Bowl, which is a 2 QB league. So Abe's question is, imagine you are in a 2 quarterback redraft league. You can choose any slot you want besides the first overall pick. Where are you choosing to draft, and who are you taking? Troy, any pick you want, 1 through 12, where are you picking?
Well, since we talk about the Scott Fish Bowl, I'm gonna talk about the pick that I chose, and it was pick 12. Now, it was third round reversal was one of the reasons I did it, but regardless, I like the turn. For me, I like the turn because I like getting my players back to back. I'm just that type of dude where, like for the first round, for example, right, 2 QB league, I like going a QB, like I get like Justin Herbert, right, at like 112, and then I get like a Darren Waller, right? I've been doing that so much recently where I get my stud tight end and I get my QB, or I'm gonna go QB and elite running back. That's the perfect way to do that. And then on the 3-4 turn, regardless if it's third round reversal or not, I can get like my second QB, or I can get again another stud running back. And normally what I like to do is I like to wait on my wide receivers and just stack them up. But that's what I would do personally.
I like it. Victoria, where would you choose to pick?
I actually just started a Dynasty draft with Justin Boone and a bunch of other people. They're doing like an international Dynasty. We got 6 U.S. analysts, and yeah, it's really, really, really fun.
Flex.
We're like 2 or 3 rounds in, so we just started yesterday. I was in the 8th spot, which I like. I actually like the turn as well, being closer to the turn. And I took Dak Prescott. I am struggling to get many shares of him this year, so I was really, really happy with that. I'm going to try. I'm going to take a quarterback there, and then at the turn, I want like an elite wide receiver usually, or this is not a tight end premium. If it was, I probably would have went one of the top 3 tight ends, probably get Kelsey or Waller, but it's not. And I took Stephon Diggs, another person that I have not been able to get many shares of. So I'm just trying to build a team I like.
Yeah, I feel like this is a year where that like top tier has some depth to it. Like, last year in redraft, like, it was like Mahomes, CMC, and then a fall off. And it seems like this year it's spread a little more thinly across the top. So Scott Fish, since we're talking about that a little bit, I picked the 9 pick. And the reason for that is I feel like if I get any of these top 9 players, I'm happy with it. Lamar Jackson, Patrick Mahomes, Kyler Murray, Josh Allen, Dak Prescott, Christian McCaffrey, Dalvin Cook, Saquon Barkley, Travis Kelce. Give me any of those 9 guys, and I am happy with it. And then I'm still getting value with my second round pick. If somebody else takes Kelce, I'm hopeful that maybe I can get Darren Waller in the second round or George Kittle in the second round and still get one of those elite tight ends. So I think we're all somewhat on the same page here, where we realize that picking at the end of the first round and then being able to still get good value in the second round is where you want to be. Because if you're getting Christian McCaffrey, like, Christian McCaffrey is great, don't get me wrong, but or even Patrick Mahomes. Like, is Patrick Mahomes really that high above Lamar and Dak and Kyler and those other guys? Is Christian McCaffrey really that much better than Dalvin Cook? I mean, yeah, there's a little bit of an advantage, but are you willing to give up the entire second round and have, 24 picks in between your first 2 picks to get one of those guys? I don't think so. So I think with all of us kind of picking the back end of the first round, it just shows how we kind of feel about this. All right. We are going to open this up to the user questions now, and we will go through the chat and pick all those out. But before we do, I want to remind everybody about a Fantrax promo right now that Footballguys is running on fantrax.com. I will tweet out a link to this afterwards so you can join the Beat the Footballguys contest that we're running. What this is, it's a salary cap league. So you'll go in there, you'll have a chance to play against me. Troy is in the league. Victoria, I know you're going to set up your lineup. We've got Sigmund Bloom, Jeff Hasley, Matt Waldman, Joe Bryant. The entire crowd is in there. So you get a chance to go in here, play against us in a season-long best ball tournament. Fantrax is paying out of their own pocket $1,000 to the winner of this, and it doesn't cost you a penny to sign up. So go to fantrax.com/footballguys and sign up right now if you haven't already. They're one of the most customizable platforms out there. And something crazy is they have a 95% retention rate. So when people switch to Fantrax, they stay at Fantrax. Like I said, I will tweet out a link to the contest as soon as we're done with this show. So find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge, Kluge. And in the time being, over the next 15 minutes, just sign up at fantrax.com/footballguys. Anyway, we have a bunch of questions in here right now. Let me try to find the worst one. Or the first one. I'm sorry. There's so much happening in this chat. It is tough to come across. All right.
Whoever gets picked is going to be self-conscious.
Yeah, Jordan Vanek, is Ryan Reynolds the 101 of celebrity male crushes? Troy, you can answer this one first. Is there a better celebrity male crush than Ryan Reynolds? You buy into that, and I'll find some other questions.
Yeah, no problem. For me, look, he's a good-looking guy. I'm not going to say he's my 101. I haven't had time to really, do my research on attractive males, but I'm not going to say that he's 101. But somebody else, I'll say he's top 10. So I'll get back to you, Jordan.
All right. And now we got a question in from Adam Koffler, always tuning into the show. Adam, thank you for tuning in again. Are we buying the Mike Williams hype? Troy, we've been burned by Mike Williams a few times now. Are you buying into it this year?
I think for me, I'm tempering expectations, right? Again, he's somebody you could take a flyer on late, but don't get too excited because I've fallen for this Mike Williams thing too many times. So I'll have him late in Dynasty. If you want to take a shot on him in best ball, cool. Redraft, take him late. All right. But don't listen to this coach speak, right? You got to prove it to me, Mike Williams. Okay. You make some crazy catches that you land funny. I don't trust you, man. You don't get the targets that I want. I'm not going to fall for it.
Well, what are you thinking? Are you buying into it? Year 5, final year of his contract with the Chargers. Do you think that Mike Williams can break out this year, Victoria?
Oh, I'm cracking up over here. He does always seem to land very not great and mess up his back. Isn't that true? I am also not buying into this hype. There are people out there that are, and RIP to your league this year. But I'm not. I have not seen it. To me, he's like a Sammy Watkins. He had the high draft capital and just never worked out. And yet we keep being like, but he was a first round pick, 7th overall. Not falling for it anymore. Not doing it.
And the thing, what I love to point out about Mike Williams is like he's done good things. He just hasn't been able to do it consistently over a full season. He's had 1,000-yard season. He's had a 10-touchdown season, but those were in separate years, and it hasn't really paid off so far in fantasy. But I mean, right now, Keenan Allen, we know he's the target hog there. We know that he's going to command the majority of the targets. But Mike Williams, like there has to be a number 2 guy that steps up with Justin Herbert there. You already called it out, Victoria. JJ Zacharyson himself said that a rookie quarterback cannot support 2 wide receivers. Well, guess what? Justin Herbert's not a rookie this year. Maybe this is the year that we finally see Mike Williams break out. He's getting drafted right now in the 12th, 13th round. Give me Mike Williams all day at that ADP because his ceiling is sky high. We've got Zara, another friend of the show who has been tuning in every single week. Thank you once again for tuning in. Which of these late round running backs do you guys like best? James White, Tariq Cohen, or Nyheim Hines? Troy, start us off here.
Nyheim Hines.
Yeah.
To me, this is easy. Like James White, like I love him, but that offense is gross. No, I don't know if Stevenson, Harris, God knows what's going on with Michelle. Nah, I don't want anything to do with that. Cohen, I would have liked Cohen a little bit more if it wasn't for Damian Williams. I think that Damian Williams is not only a solid pass catcher, but he's also going to get rushing opportunity. So that's the only reason. But Nyheim Hines, Frank Reich showed us last year how much he loves using Nyheim Hines, not just as a pass catcher, but as a rusher too. We know that Jonathan Taylor's the RB1, but Nyheim Hines is still going to be heavily involved in that offense. Definitely Hines.
Who are you taking here, Victoria?
I'm with Troy. He hit on everything that I wanted to say. He's going to be, we know he will be involved in the offense, and especially in PPR, he's much more valuable than these other guys. I don't believe in Cohen. No offense, Dave. Sorry. James White is like as old as Frank Gore. It feels like he's been he's been a fantasy player for as long. I swear. I know he's not. I'm messing, but I'm not messing with James White. I'll go Hines.
Yeah, I'm going Nyheim Hines too. What I got to do is talk to Taylor so we can get like a graphic where every time we all agree on one question, we can just like boom, stamp of approval. All right, Nyheim Hines, that's the guy here. We've got Will asking us, rookie draft, I pick 8th. Trey Sermon or Michael Carter in a Dynasty League. Victoria, who are you taking here at 8th?
Trey Sermon all day. Michael Carter is shooting up draft boards, ADP, everything. Why? I mean, it's the Jets, guys. We can't forget it's the Jets. Trey Sermon will have an opportunity if Raheem Mostert, I hurt my arm. If he gets hurt, that's it. Trey Sermon's going to be that dude. I would Sermon all day, especially in that rushing offense.
Sermon. I'm not good. I don't have to say anything else. Sermon.
Stamp of approval. Trey Sermon over Michael Carter. You heard it here. All right, 12-team Superflex League. I traded Alvin Kamara for Justin Fields and Jerry Jeudy. Was this a fair trade? Go Bills.
Go Bills.
Absolutely. It's a Superflex League. You traded Kamara for Justin Fields. Yes, I think it's fair. You're getting again, Justin Fields, his value is only rising. Kamara, look, he's great, but quarterback, super flex, a hot young quarterback, easy. Good.
Yeah. I think it's a very fair trade, and I'm siding slightly on the Justin Fields, but it's not something that like you're vetoing or canceling. It's a fair trade. I like it. All right, we got Colton here. Question for Troy: is Tua a quarterback? Fins down. LOL. Love you, Troy. Great show, you three. Colt out here just blazing, man. Troy.
Look, Colt, man. I used to like Colt, man, but you know what? And he's a Bills fan too, man. So look, we can't let any more Bills fans ask questions on this show. But
all right, we got Toddzilla in the chat. Can you talk about the potential path for Gibson to be a top 5 RB in 2021? I think we could all make this argument, but Victoria,
this
is your time to shine. Tell us, why is Antonio Gibson going to be a top 5 running back this year?
Oh goodness, he only had 170 carries last year. That's nothing. He was uber efficient on his touches. I tweeted out a tweet if you want to check it out. At FFB_Victoria, it's there somewhere. I compared Christian McCaffrey's rookie year to Antonio Gibson's rookie year. The numbers are almost identical in total scrimmage yards. McCaffrey had more receiving, but let's remember Gibson was basically a receiver in college. He wasn't even running back. Well, he did the running back stuff last year, man. They put their trust in him. the reason why he didn't stay on the field for pass catching very much is because J.D. McKissic is a fantastic pass catcher. That being said, he will have much more trust from the coaching staff this year. They're going to get him much more involved. J.D. McKissic, like I already said earlier in the show, McKiss this, honey. There's an easy path. He will be the workhorse. And go ahead, Dave.
We just did that article, the collaboration article between all the Football Guys staffers about the most the most overrated running backs. And I picked JD McKissic, and people were like, how is somebody that's like ranked in the 60s overrated? I said, because even that is too dang high. All right. He's not going to do anything close to where he did last year. You shouldn't even be. I don't care if JD McKissic is sitting there in the last round of my 20-man draft.
Oh, no,
you're
tripping. No, y'all tripping.
This is Antonio Gibson's team.
Y'all hating on him.
No, he's a fine man. I'm sure he's great, husband and family man. Sure, fine. But 110 targets, honey, that's not happening.
I didn't say that was going to happen, but okay.
That was more than Kamara, guys. Holy moly.
All right, we got another question from Zara here, who is always asking great questions, so thank you for this. Right now, it's assumed that Davante Adams is the wide receiver one. If Aaron Rodgers doesn't play, is there a clear wide receiver one in fantasy football? Troy, what do you think?
If it's not Davante Adams, no, it's not clear. You can make an argument that for Tyreek Hill, Stephon Diggs, it used to be A.J. Brown before Julio came into town, so I don't think he's going to be involved with that. DeAndre Hopkins, I may have an article on Football Guys about my argument why DeAndre Hopkins could be the wide receiver one, so check that out. Thank you for setting that up for me. But yeah, I think we have a bunch of people that could end up being wide receiver one if it's not Davante Adams.
Victoria, what's your stance on this one?
I agree. I'd probably say it'd be a battle between a ton of those guys. Tyreek Hill, Diggs, because of the receptions there, and Calvin Ridley. I mean, I think he's going to be a top 5 dude this year, but the waters are murky if you take out Adams for sure.
Yeah, I think Tyreek Hill, DeAndre Hopkins, Justin Jefferson, Calvin Ridley, A.J. Brown. There's so many guys that you could have in that conversation for wide receiver one this year that, no, I don't think there's a clear wide receiver one. But if Aaron Rodgers is playing, it is absolutely Davante Adams. All right, well, episode 1, I guess, of the new Football Guys crew had an absolute blast here. Thank you to everybody that was able to tune in. Before we sign off, real quickly, Victoria, you want to let everyone know where they can find you on Twitter?
Absolutely, at FFB_Victoria. Find me there.
Troy, everyone is probably familiar with you at this point, but let them know where they can find you and what you've got going on right now.
Sure. Y'all can find me at TKingMode on Twitter. You just follow me there and you'll get update on everything that I'm doing.
Yes, sir. And I am Dave Kluge. You can find me on Twitter at Dave Kluge. Thank you for tuning into Football Guys' newest show, The Mailbag, Troy, with me, Dave Kluge, Troy King, and Victoria. You can find us live every Wednesday at 7:30 p.m. Eastern. Be sure to subscribe to the Football Guys YouTube page at youtube.com/FootballGuysTV. You can find all the rest of the Football Guys shows there, the Audible, 2 Point Stance, the Dynasty Show, the Dynasty Newsletter Show, the Power Grid, and more to come this offseason. We will see you next week. Thank you so much for tuning in.